Let's say that we've got the function f of x, and it is equal to the natural log of x plus 5 over x minus 1. And what we want to figure out is what is f prime of x. And I encourage you to pause this video and try to figure it out on your own. So there's two ways that you could approach this. I would call one way the easy way, and the other way the hard way, and we'll work through both of them. The easy way is to recognize your logarithm properties, to remember that the natural log of a over b, remember natural log is just log base the number e. So this is just going to be equal to the natural log of a minus the natural log of b. So if we just apply this property right over here to simplify this expression, or at least simplify it from a point of view in terms of having to take its derivative, we can rewrite f of x. We can write f of x as being equal to the natural log of x plus 5 minus the natural log of x minus 1. And when we take the derivative now with respect to x, f prime of x, well, this is going to be the derivative of the natural log of x plus 5 with respect to x plus 5. So that's going to be 1 over x plus 5 times the derivative of x plus 5 with respect to x. I'm just applying the chain rule here. And that's just going to be 1. So this, the derivative of that is that. And the derivative of this, well, let's see. We're going to have a minus sign there. And the derivative of natural log of x minus 1 with respect to x minus 1 is going to be 1 over x minus 1. And then the derivative of x minus 1 with respect to x is just 1. So you just multiply this by 1. Doesn't really change the value. And we're done. We were able to figure out the derivative of f. Now, what's the hard way, you might be thinking? Or maybe you did do it when you tried to approach it on your own. Well, that's not to simplify this expression using this property and just to try to power through this using the chain rule. So let's try to do that. So in that case, f prime of x, it's going to be the derivative of this whole thing with respect to x plus 5 over x minus 1, which is going to be 1 over x plus 5 over x minus 1 times the derivative with respect to x of x plus 5 over x minus 1. This is just the chain rule. Derivative of this whole thing with respect to this expression times the derivative of this expression with respect to x. Just the chain rule. So let's see. This is going to be equal to, let me use some colors here. What I'm boxing off in blue, that's the same thing as x minus 1 over x plus 5. I'm just taking the reciprocal of this. And then it's going to be times, and then I'll do this in magenta. That's not magenta. So that's going to be times, and I'm going to rewrite it as the derivative with respect to x of x plus 5 times x minus 1 to the negative 1 power. And I like to write it that way because I always forget the whole quotient rule thing, but I remember the product rule. So this thing, so let me just rewrite it. Then I think you already appreciate why this is the hard way. So let me write this. This is x minus 1 over x plus 5 times, so let's apply the product rule. Derivative of x plus 5, well, that's just 1 times the second term times x minus 1 to the negative 1. So that's 1 over x minus 1. And then plus, what's the derivative of x minus 1 to the negative 1? Well, let's see. That's going to be negative x minus 1 to the negative 2 power. So I could say negative 1 x minus 1 to the negative 2, or I could just write it like this. And then times the derivative of x minus 1 with respect to x. Well, that's just going to be 1. And then times this, x plus 5. So actually, so times x plus 5. So all I did here, product rule. Derivative of this is 1 times that, and that gave us that right over there. And then I took the derivative of this, which is this right over here, negative 1 over x minus 1 over x minus 1 squared, or you could say negative x minus 1 to the negative 2 power times this first expression right over there. So that's that derivative. And now let's see if we can simplify things. So if we, let's see, if we were if we were to, let me just rewrite everything. So this is equal to x minus 1 over x plus 5 times 1 over x minus 1 minus x plus 5 over x minus 1 squared. Now let's think about what happens when we distribute this. So when you distribute this times that, this numerator cancels with that denominator. And so we're going to get, let's see, 1 over x plus 5. And then when you distribute it over here, the x plus 5 is going to cancel with the x plus 5. And one of the x minus 1s is going to cancel with one of these x minus 1s. And you're going to be left with just one of those x minus 1s in the denominator. And so you get f prime of x is equal to this. And lucky for us, we got the same answer either way. But as we see, the easy way was much easier than the hard way.